This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hi there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the birthday boy for today would have, September 9th, would have been this man. He's well known for being part of CBS's The NFL Today coverage in the 70s and 80s and becoming a predictor of NFL games with the point spread. His career ended on a terrible thing, and he died in 1996. He is Jimmy the Greek. He was born in Steubenville, Ohio. His real name was Dimitrios Georgios SNyder, but he decided to said that SNyder loved it. He loved Steubenville, but he was always acquainted with bookmakers and all that. In his autobiography, he said he would bet $10,000 on the 1948 election between Thomas Dewey and Harry Truman. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that SNyder was born in 1918. So at 30 years old, he bet $10,000, getting 17-1 odds for Truman to win because they thought that Thomas Dewey was a fantastic president. But Dewey did not beat Truman, despite the fact that the Chicago newspapers got it wrong. Because Dewey had a mustache, and American women don't trust people with mustaches. He would invest in oil drilling and coal mining, losing those ventures, and then moving to Las Vegas in 1956, doing a pro football betting line, and making Vegas the way it is today. So anyway, he did much to bring Vegas into betting and all that. There was huge and all that. Anyway, he spent 12 years on CBS's The NFL Today for the pregame. Now, the NFL Today, back in the 70s, is a whole lot different than it is nowadays. But in the 1970s, it was just 30 minutes with Brent Musburger, who was the host in studio, with Phyllis George. Oh, my God. And I'm blanking on the other guy. I can't remember. But anyway, I don't think it really matters. Oh, yeah. It'll come to me, but I don't think it will. SNyder. No, Irv Cross, I think it was. Anyway, yeah. So he would appear in segments with Brent Musburger and predict the results of the games and all that. It made him a minor celebrity. Unfortunately, he would have conflicts with Musburger and Phyllis George. Of course, with Phyllis, the tension was so big that SNyder would tape his segments with Musburger in advance so that he and Phyllis George were not on the same set at the same time. Are you stupid? Anyway, sports betting was not didn't have the legalization as it does today. But anyway, it was just a social taboo. So SNyder would predict the score of each game. He would say, for example, the LA Raiders against the LA Rams. The Raiders would win 31-21. And bettors knew the line of the game to be able to who knew the line would deduce his selection when betting the point spread. Because the Raiders were by 5, they would know that SNyder was picking the Raiders to beat the line, beat the spread. And the NFL was not allowed to have any official connections between gambling and the league. However, Pete Rozelle knew SNyder's work and made it clear that it was within the lines. So SNyder was big. He was in Cannonball Run in 1981, sorry. He offered 15-1 odds against Formula One driver Jamie Blake, played by Dean Martin, and gambler Morris Vanderbaum, a.k.a. Sammy Davis Jr. SNyder knew Dean Martin because they were childhood acquaintances in Steubenville, Ohio. He was the main figure in 2009 when ESPN did the 30 for 30 about the legend of Jimmy the Greek and all that. Anyway, SNyder was largely unknown outside the U.S., but in 1974 his name reached international renown because after Ali beat Foreman in Zaire, he said, "All of you bow, all of you my critics crawl, all of you suckers bow. If you want to know any damn thing about boxing, don't go to no boxing experts in Las Vegas. Don't go to no Jimmy the Greek. Come to Muhammad Ali." Anyway, SNyder actually was referenced in The Golden Girls when Rose asked Dorothy if she really going to dump her mother in order to spend more time with her boyfriend. Dorothy responds with, "Faster than CBS dumped Jimmy the Greek." More on that later. And also, SNyder was parodied in the Simpsons episode Lisa the Greek, which was actually named after him. A character modeled after him was named Smooth Jimmy Apollo, voiced by Phil Hartman, would give dubious predictions of football games. And when Homer loses some bet early on in that episode, Smooth Jimmy, "Well, when you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong 48% of the time." And Homer says, "Why didn't you tell me that?" Yeah, Lisa the Greek was about Lisa's predicting football scores, spending time with Homer on daddy-daughter days, Sundays, winning money for the family. Marge, of course, not being too happy that Homer's just using Lisa to get money and all that. Something that's actually true when Homer rather spend time with Barney and his mother than go hiking up Mount Springfield with Lisa. Lisa sells everything she gets from Homer for that. Makes a cryptic prediction about the Super Bowl, which Washington does beat Buffalo, which means she does love Homer. And they go up hiking up Mount Springfield. SNyder suffered from diabetes and died of a heart attack at age 77 in 1996, buried in Steubenville. But he and his wife actually suffered bigger losses. They lost 3 of their 5 children to cystic fibrosis. That is one of the most bad news of all time. Yeah, Earth Cross, that was it. So anyway, what brought Jimmy the Greek down was in 1988. There was an interview with NBC-owned WRC-TV at Duke Seibert's Washington restaurant, and SNyder was interviewed. Well, because he was doing interviews with various people in the restaurant for a program celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday. And, the interviewer gave him a forward-looking question, but Jimmy the Greek had a backward-looking answer. This is what he said. "The black is a better athlete to begin with because he's been bred to be that way. Because of his high thighs and big thighs that go up into his back. And they can jump higher and run faster because of their bigger thighs. And he's bred to be the better athlete because this goes back to the Civil War when during the slave trade the owner of the slave owner would breed his big black to his big woman so that they could have a big black kid. That's where it all started. And all that. That kind of was reprehensive. Anyway. The issue was that was not the whole issue. The issue SNyder also said something else. He said that if black people were to take coaching, as I think everyone wants them to, there's not going to be anything for the white people. Now that was worse. So anyway, SNyder did express regret for his comments and all that. His CBS co-workers stated that they did not agree with SNyder's fears, and they basically did not oppose CBS's decision to get rid of him. This was cancel culture before cancel culture was huge. But, CBS did the right thing. They had to. I mean, those comments were terrible in 1988, whereas they would definitely be bad in 2022. Anyway. Yeah, anything. Anyway, SNyder sued the CBS network for age discrimination, defamation, breach of contract. Unfortunately, he lost the case. Well, you can't blame him for being mad at CBS, but what he said was incorrect. And that's the way it goes. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.